Hello, and welcome back to 7 Days, The World Ends With You podcast. I'm your host, Eric, and I'm joined with.
Joshua as your co-host.
Yep. And this will be our final episode of The World Ends With You, the animation, at least until the English dub, which may or may not happen.
I mean, we'll probably be waiting for half a year at this point.
Yeah. I checked, so I'm just going to preface this now. We are recording this mere minutes before Neo officially launches. Actually,
Just
8 minutes after.
we were, just a little late on recording this after the episode came out.
Yeah, a little bit. We watched it right when it came out. And I took about 8 pages of notes.
And I took 7
bullet points. So yeah, a little late, but I checked Funimation like just a few days ago, and it said on Funimation dub and sub on Twewee, and I clicked on the first episode, and the first episode only had sub.
So like, yeah, okay. I mean, you can see under the thing, or at least on mobile, you can, is whether or not it has English audio or not, and none of them do. So
I don't know. Well, let's get to this because this might be a long.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a special announcement at the end too, so stick around for that.
Yes.
So I'm actually going to recap kind of what happened in episode 11 because it's going to go into my discussion, and I'm going to go straight through. I think the major reveal, and then I'm going to discuss what the game did. You good with that?
Okay.
So episode 11, just to recap, after beating Iron Maiden, and after Minamimoto gets jobbed, Neku, Beat, and Shiki all end up in the Room of Reckoning with Shades, Megumi Kitaniji. And Shades is saying like everyone's egoist. They have selfish desire, and that's what's causing the problems. The composer is unlike you guys because his duties for human happiness. Neku talks about why he covers his ears. And then he imprints on Shiki and turns into a snake. And you kind of have this fight between possessed Shiki and I don't know how to pronounce it. I believe it's Anguish Cantus, singing snake. And then Shiki's out cold. Beat gets hurt by Kitaniji. And then we see Kitaniji's timer running out. Then Kitaniji gives a speech about how the world needs a conductor to lead into one ideal while being possessed by a negative emotion. Red skull pins based on composer design. And then Neku pretty much just says, like, Shibuya should stay as it is. You are twisted. That's episode 11. As he's transforming to Draco Cantus, singing dragon.
Yes.
And I want to go back because you said something in the last episode that I loved and I'm going to get back to. But when he was talking about how everyone's egoist and like have selfish desires, you're like laughing and you're like, dude, you have the most selfish desires out of anyone.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back to that. I think we're going to get back to that. But when you said that, I kind of had to laugh a little bit, knowing what this episode's going to get into.
Still selfish.
Well,
I'm standing by my statement.
Okay. I'm surprised. Okay. So this episode opens weird, episode 12. Because it opens with a glowing floating Reaper pin. Like the player pin, I mean. And Kitaniji says that Neku must be the chosen one because of this floating pin. And then like Shiki and Beat come back, and wake up again immediately to come and help.
Yeah, I was like, that was a bit fast.
Yeah.
This happens again too later in the episode where they just come back like immediately.
Do they?
Yeah, like later in the Joshua thing, because like pretty much they're spent after the what is it? After the Kita Niji fight, and they
Yeah.
basically just come back again.
Yeah. So yeah, they pretty much tell Neku that like he doesn't have to fight alone anymore. Uh, and then they essentially just do the fusion attacks like twice or like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Beat throws out the chain. Mr. Mew grabs the chain, like chains Kitaniji to a post. And then Kitaniji breaks free. And then they just kind of do it again. And then Neku does the final fusion where they all like put their hands together and he summons like the Reaper key, like that Honeycoma gave him. The gen just turns into the Reaper sigil. And Draco Cantus is dead. Right?
Hmm?
Yeah. And then like they're all like kind of celebrating, like, yay, he's gone. The composer's just through that door. Like a door gets sketched into reality. That was weird, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on the whole Draco Cantus and that final fusion attack?
I mean, it was cool. I just don't have much to say per se about it.
Not much to. Um, so I think we talked about, maybe it was in one of the E3 episodes, but I talked about Neku in Smash, and like you mentioned something that could have been the final Smash, and I was like, no, I know what his final Smash would be. It wouldn't be one of those.
Mm,
That final fusion would be his final Smash,
I see.
like 100%. That I would be so upset if it was anything different. And I shouldn't say that. It depends on if and how they implement like a partner system, because the partners are so important to Neku
The
being able
combat
to fight.
in the first one, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, if Neku specifically only gets help from one partner, then like sure. But if, like he has ability to swap partners or like all the partners some way are involved in his moveset, um, then that would totally have to be his final smash. It's just too cool. Um, anyways,
Yeah. Hmm.
so we get to the Trail of the Judged, which I did not think was gonna make it, and I kind of talked about this before.
Yeah, it ended up showing up later than when you mentioned it last episode, I believe.
It's so dumb. Like the whole point of the Room of Reckoning was that there was nothing past that point. That is the throne room of Shibuya. So then just be like, oh yeah, here's a random hallway after the fact that the composer's hiding in.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, this animation hasn't exactly been
I know, but it's like
consistent.
I know, but like there's just some things like, why is this day 6? I still don't know why this is day 6.
Yeah, I could not tell you.
But for some reason, day 6. Okay.
Yep.
Um, and so they look at Cat's graffiti, and Neku's kind of just reminiscing like about all the lessons that he learned from Cat and Honeycoma, and says that he's no longer going to hesitate. And then we get the
Joshua.
reveal. Joshua walks in from the darkness. Um, and Neku's like happy and like crying, like, Josh, I can't believe you're back. We won the game. We did it. And then Josh says he won his game. His game, not the Reaper's game.
Mm-hmm. Although
What?
before that, don't we get like the thing where it like kind of shows the flashback again, where it's like Joshua, it's like the whole they keep on freaking like, oh, Joshua shot him, but nope, it
Oh
was
no, this was a little bit later in the
Minamoto.
conversation.
Really? I thought it was like they showed it like practically right when Joshua showed up. It was like,
No, no. But okay,
um,
Josh shows up and he announces himself. He announces that he was playing a game for the fate of Shibuya with Shades, and that
yeah.
he
But
is the
I do
composer of
think that
Shibuya.
point came up before because my notes wouldn't be wrong. I write things in chronological order, so
Uh, Let me check my notes because I wrote this all down. I wrote down like everything. Oh wait, maybe I didn't.
Oh yeah, that much
Did I
faith in
miss this
yourself,
part?
huh?
Did I miss the?
Wow.
Okay, I do. I do have comments about the scene too. I do have comments
You're
about the
quite
scene.
arrogant for 8 pages of notes, and you didn't write down anything on this scene. Wow, Eric.
No, I don't. I don't see anything about this. I think it's just because I know what I want to say about this one bit, and I
No,
don't think it's going to
I
say
know.
what
I'm
happened.
just yeah, no, I'm just messing with you a bit, but
Yeah, the
I'm pretty
gun
sure
scene.
I'm pretty sure he mentions it like first before explaining his game. He definitely does mention the game thing first. Just I don't think he explained it till afterwards.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so we get the flashback, and it is the flashback that we've seen multiple times throughout the game of Josh shot Neku. No, Minamimoto shot Neku. And now we see Minamimoto shot
Shot at
Josh.
Josh. Yeah.
And Josh, being the composer, was able to stop the bullet. And then another bullet. And
with his
another bullet.
magical shield type thing.
So that's another thing I'm going to get into. But in the secret reports, and we're going to cover secret reports more later, but it's actually not even shared in this episode. We learned that everything that is happening is imagination. The pins, the psychs, the Reaper's ability, the noise, the composer's strength, all of that is the power of their imagination. And that's going to be important for other things. But so that's how Josh is just so galaxy brain that he can use his imagination outside of the UG. And other Reapers cannot. But yeah, so all the bullets in Minamimoto's gun go off and fall right past Josh. Josh aims on Minamimoto, and he goes running for the hills. And then he lowers his aim to Neku, who's lying on his back on the ground, shoots at Neku, and Neku somehow dies on his stomach.
You know how normal people die, somehow on their back and then flipped over. I mean, you know.
In the game, he stays on his back, and it actually is important that he stays on his back, and I'll get into that too.
Because he wouldn't be able to see, right?
Yeah, because Josh fired, he fell onto his back, but he wasn't actually hit. Mimoto fires, but he was looking over his shoulder, but again, that wasn't for Neku.
And I think also like some of the
Josh
flashbacks show him on the ground on his back too.
Yes,
so
they do. They do.
Yeah, it's weird. This animation is like sometimes real inconsistent.
Yeah. No,
but that's like getting a little nitpicky, but whatever.
No, it actually does get a little bit important though, because of
I know I
happens
like
in the game.
Yeah. In the game, or
yeah. So man, I'm surprised I didn't write that. I'm sure as I'm reading through this, we're going to get there. But just your thoughts on Josh being the composer, being the one that killed Neku, the game that he set up.
You know, in hindsight, should have been pretty obvious, but me being just
I wasn't obvious about it. How was that obvious?
It's Nomura's obvious type thing. He freaking misled me again.
You were like, it's a new character that we haven't seen. And then they're like pushing for Honeycomb, and you're like, there's no way it's Honeycomb. And then
I mean,
like,
which I was right.
Shades.
It wasn't Honeycomb. I don't think it was Honeycomb.
But then on episode 11, I remember you finally switched and you're like, I think it might be Honeycomb based off Shades being behind the red pins.
Yeah, but like I didn't think like Honeycomb was actually like the one doing this stuff or anything. But I mean, just I don't know. Like also they give a whole bunch of setup for Josh, so I don't know. It's just like you know what? From here on out, just take Nomura at his first word and don't believe anything else he specifies afterwards.
So there's actually a really funny article that I've read by Escapist Magazine. The writer was Latonia Pennington. I'm going to put this in the description as well. But yeah, Latonia Pennington at the Escapist magazine wrote a whole article about Josh and saying like Josh is the best of the RPG tropes because he is the character that is obsessed with killing God, and he is also the God protagonist. And at the end of the game, you don't actually kill God. Antagonist, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like
Eric.
He's both.
Eric, it's finally an RPG where you don't have to go kill a false deity.
I mean, technically, he's not a false deity. He is.
Well, but like, there's a lot of JRPGs where there's like people who claim to be deities, and then you go off to go beat them and whatnot. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So then we see a flashback of, just going back to where we are in the episode. We see a flashback to when Josh starts his game with Kitaniji. And Josh is in this like glowing ethereal form where you can't really make out any details of him. And they're having this conversation. Josh says, I am ready to wash my hands of Shibuya. I am done. I don't want to deal with it. These people are incapable of growing and changing, and I have too much influence over other areas. So this place has to go. And Kitaniji says, but Shibuya has so much potential. But your problem is the people are unable to see that potential. What if we played a game? I shape Shibuya in the way that you see pleasing, and you keep Shibuya. And if I lose, well, I guess Josh makes up the rules of the game. But Josh says, like, if you lose, you and Shibuya will be erased. You have 1 month. And then we learn some of the rules as well. Josh is not allowed to interfere with the game directly. He is to pick a proxy who will help him erase Shibuya. And we learn that proxy was Neku. So this entire time, you have been fighting for his team.
Yep.
Oh no, I did write it right here. So it is after this scene. This is on the next page of notes. I'm dumb. Oh, you're dumb. You got it wrong. Yeah, Composer has some power in the OG. Oh yeah, so that
maybe Josh it's because I only wrote it because like we finally had the full explanation for everything.
Yeah. Minamoto turns himself taboo to bridge the power gap between him and Josh. We get that explanation.
Yeah.
And
still then, gets jobbed.
Still gets jobbed. I love his explanation in the game, but again, we'll get to that in a second. Then Josh opens his hands and like he sketches 2 guns into existence. And he mentioned something interesting. He mentions that he is going to punish Honeycomb for getting involved with his game.
Mm-hmm. Although, I mean, Josh would have got just as involved. But I mean, you know, whatever.
Well, the game was between Megumi and Josh. Honeycomb kind of was interfering with the game. Although Honeycomb also helped Josh a lot, so it's. But we'll get to that. And then he proposes this game to Neku. We're going to take like 10 paces back and aim these guns at each other. Whoever I'm going to count down from 10. At 0, we shoot. Whoever wins becomes composer and can do whatever they like to Shibuya. I, Joshua, already know what I'm going to do to Shibuya. And hands Neku the gun.
Mm-hmm.
What does he say? Forks in the road are this simple. And so Neku takes aim. Josh is counting down. And then
he gets flashback time.
Yeah. He hears the line, trust your partner. And he decides that he's going to drop his gun completely onto the ground reach out his hand and say, I trust you. Josh, like the smug prick he is, smiles and shoots.
Yep. But don't worry, it's all part of his big galaxy brain plan that continues.
Yeah. Neku falls back onto the ground, crying, and wakes at 10:04. At this point, I kind of want to jump over to the game before we discuss the epilogue.
Sounds good.
Oh gosh, I have a lot. So I forgot how much more I wrote for the game. So let's go back to episode 11 because I have to re-explain pretty much everything to understand how the game worked differently. So you didn't just magically end up in the Room of Reckoning. You go through several hallways and end up at the Dead God's Pad, which is the board that everyone has been seen at, or all the Reapers have been seen at throughout the game. Shades welcomes the X players, and he mentions that the X players because the game has ended, and tells them, "You guys aren't fit to see the composer. You guys aren't fit to lay hands on him. You're not fit to even see him. Everything he does is out of boundless love. He is only concern is the human happiness and to shepherd humanity into a brighter future." Keep in mind, Josh's plan was to destroy the whole town.
I mean, also, this man is also challenging him right now. So, I mean, whatever.
Yeah. And so
water under the bridge, right?
Yeah. And so Shades has plans to compose. Not compose. He talks about how the composer's plan is to rebuild Shibuya into something more fitting. And then he imprints on Shiki. And this fight is kind of similar to how the Yuzuki
and Korea
fight went, where they act as partners. So it's Beat versus Possessed Shiki versus Neku and Human Shades. And then as you defeat him, Shade says, "I see now why he picked you," and fades away. Direct quote. Shiki, still possessed, still attacking. Beat tries to stop her, but Neku gets in the way and says, "No, don't hurt Shiki." Shiki don't care. She throws Mew at Neku, trying to go for the kill shot, and Beat takes the Mew bullet. Neku goes up and slashes the red pin and just breaks the red pin in half. And then they're both out cold after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, where was I? So Neku decides that he's going to keep fighting alone, and that's where he gets into the Trail of the Judged. He talks about enjoying every moment and how everyone worked to get him where he is. So now he won't falter. He's learned better, and he's going to continue this fight. Here he specifically says right before entering the Room of Reckoning, "Shiki, Beat, Josh, Rhyme, they got me here. This is my fight." And then he gets to the Room of Reckoning, and he just starts shouting, come out to fight me. You want to defeat me, right? Show yourself." And then he just kind of falls, slouches over and just says, "Mr. H, come out. I know it's you." And then, yeah. You were saying?
Oh, nothing. Just continue.
Shades then shows up again. And he's like, "Wait. So, first off, I don't know who H is. H is not the person that you think it is. The composer is not the person you think it is. And also, the composer hasn't been here since you've come to the UG. Sorry, you missed him." And just kind of makes fun of him, you're standing on the final stage and yet you don't know who the players are. Um, and he's just kind of making fun of Neku in that way of like, you don't know what's going on. So yeah, so those are two big revelations. So Shades has been churned since the composer's been away, and he tries to tempt like Neku to understand where he's coming from and to join him. So he's like, Neku, you like music. Like good music needs a conductor, and the world needs it too. Because under one idea, then the world of man marches on into bliss. And then he lists like rage, hate, misery. These are the world's ills. And like, if I can destroy individuality, I can make the world a paradise. Neku says that's not possible. He says, yes, it is. I have these red pins. The red pins allow for my imprinting of my will. But we learn that he has to remove the player pins because the player pins block imprinting. It's why players couldn't scan other players. The player pins themselves have power. And so Shades asks if you will help, and you have two choices actually. You can say never or works for me.
Does one give you a bad ending?
Nope. They both get you the same dialogue, essentially.
Well, that's pointless dialogue then.
Yes. That's how most choices are. Like most will like might have like a small change, like oh, if you say yes instead of no, you might like get an extra pin. But like there's no like major changes to the story. And this is completely pointless because if you say works for me, he like if you say works for me, he pretty much says like, you know, if you had asked me like 3 weeks ago, I probably would say yes. And if you say never, he's like, no, I would never do it. And he said like maybe it would be easier, but it wouldn't be Shibuya. And it's like, he's like, the whole point of Shibuya is that people clash, and when they clash, they change. And so, you know, the world ends on my borders, and the best moments will slip away if I, you know, give this up. And so, because I've come to the UG, I've clashed, I've changed, and Shibuya should stay the way it is. Then he asks if you like people, and you can say yep or nope. This changes nothing.
Again, yeah. Why?
Because Nomura, dang it.
Okay, and I like my choices to somewhat matter.
Yeah. And so
is that asking too much? I think it's asking too much.
And Shade says like, I forgot to hit nope the second time, so I don't remember what nope does. But yep is.
Wow, Eric, you aren't thorough enough.
Thanks. Why is beyond me? You need to be reformed. And then he tells you unpartnered players have little to no power. And so then he goes to save him by crushing his player pin. And nothing happens. He can't imprint on Neku. And he says, oh, of course, I'm such a fool. He wouldn't let me harm his pick. Neku's like, whose pick? What do you mean? Being Shiki finally show back up after a longer conversation, after several hallways. And Shiki's like, how could you have gone on without us, Neku? Like, what did H say about your partners? And Neku's like, trust him? Like, yep. Beat informs you that you are not his partner anymore. He's your friend. Power of friendship always wins.
Yeah, seems to be a running theme.
Yeah.
Cough, cough, Kingdom Hearts, cough, cough.
Yeah. And then you start I believe it's called the Anguis Cantus. I don't know how to pronounce it. And this fight, you have to fight it twice in a row, back to back. Once with Shiki as your partner, and once with Beat as your partner. Not much to say. It's typical boss fight. Although there's one thing that will become important in a second, and that's one of his attacks is an orange bubble, orange orb. I don't know how to describe it. that he can trap Neku in. And like Neku gets trapped in it, and you have to break out before he does like a big attack on the orb. So you defeat that. And then we find out Shade's timer is almost up. And then we hear the line without seeing the silhouette. I'm back, Megumi. Your timer must be nearly ticked out. Neku's freaking out. And we find out Joshua's alive. But Megumi says, I will protect Shibuya. And then it goes into like a cutscene where he like throws something. I'm upset. Because this is what I wanted explained. Like, this doesn't need a whole game to explain it. But like, I was hoping this would be fleshed out a little more because I don't fully understand what was going on with the Dracocanthus. He like throws a boomerang or something at Josh. Josh is like bound up and then is like absorbed halfway into Dracocanthus. And that's why, like, I told you don't look up Dracocanthus because seeing the boss is a spoiler. Because you just see Josh just hanging there. But then Shiki and Beat are both taken up by those orange orbs, and he holds on to those two orbs. So you have Josh essentially fused to this thing, Shiki and Beat in both his hands, and Neku has to fight this thing alone.
Which doesn't work well in this game, I hear.
Well, okay. So how this boss fight works is that you have to fight, and once you reach a certain threshold, you can do a fusion attack with Shiki. Then, once you reach another threshold, you can do your fusion attack with Beat. Then, when you reach another threshold, you can do your fusion attack with Joshua. Then, when you take out all its health, one final fusion attack pin appears in the center of the screen. You tap that, and he fuses with all three of his partners, and he summons the Reaper Sigil, and then creates a cross, like slash, against the Dracocanthus.
Cross slash? Are we talking Final Fantasy VII here?
No, so it's like, you know the.
No, I get what you're talking about. I'm just making a joke, Eric.
Well, you know, like the cross that's like with the Reaper symbol in the game.
Actually,
I don't know if they showed in the animation. Yeah, it's literally that cross. It's boom, 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 boom. Because it has like the 2 points of like where it looks like ink blotting almost. And so you see this cross get made and erases Dracocanthus from existence, and everyone's like beamed to the ground safely. And then whatchamacallit? Yeah, next page. That's why. I was like, where am I in my notes? So we find out Josh his Shade's timer reaches 0, and there's no one left to protect Shibuya. We see the flashback, which is pretty much the same conversation. There's no future value to me or anyone in Shibuya. Full of possibilities, but people too dull and clouded to see them. So we must end the influence before it spreads. If Shades can fix Shibuya, it stays. He loses. And Shibuya erased. He says he will gladly risk his life for Shibuya if he could. And so the composer agrees. He'll handicap himself, retreat to the OG, won't challenge directly, but pick a player to represent him. And then Josh says he's interested in the idea of rebuilding Shibuya and says that he'll watch closely from the sideline. And then he says he takes Shade's entry fee, but we actually don't ever learn what Shade's entry fee was.
I don't think they mention it in the show, do they?
No. So in the game, Shades and Josh share screen time. in the show, Shades is killed before we see Josh, and Josh is already in the UG, just like chilling.
Yeah.
So dumb.
I don't know. It just it doesn't sound all that important, honestly.
Well, they hit the same beats, but it just feels a little different with Josh and Shades not actually having a little bit of like talking about the game that they've been playing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because like, but yeah, so we get Josh telling Megumi that he wished nothing but success for him, and now that the game's over, Shibuya will be gone. But he tells Megumi that he did well. It was one of his more enjoyable games. Shades turns to the players, says he has no regrets. And then he goes and says, "Well played, player." And asks, like, "How come I wasn't able to imprint on you?" And Neku's like, "I don't know why you couldn't imprint on me." Oh, wait a second. I had 2 player pins. Shades doesn't know why Neku has 2 player pins. Neku doesn't know why he has 2 player pins. Neku just has 2.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Josh acknowledges that he liked the idea, and it was a shame that it failed of the red skull pins. But yeah, it's up to Neku now. Everything was a game set by Josh. And then he tells Neku that, him being the composer must unsettle him, especially since we spent all that quality time together. Oh, Josh, you smug jerk. Everything Neku's done was for Josh's team. He did a bang up job. Couldn't have won without Neku. I'm just going through because a lot of this is the same. Oh yeah, so he talks about Minamimoto and says like, yeah, he really knows how to heat up a game, but he got overheated, so I had to put him out early. Couldn't have him spoiling the climax. Love Josh. Oh man.
Really, I wonder why.
he's a prick. So enjoyable. Josh returns to Held On Memories, and memory plays are mostly the same, except Neku is killed on his back, and he stays on his back. And Josh takes a player pin, throws it down, and has the player pin land on Neku's chest. That is the second player pin. So, which honestly, at this point, I don't believe Josh would have known that the red skull pins was Megumi's plan.
No, but it was probably something just to mark him to be easier to follow.
I mean, I guess, but also follow the dude with one spiky hair and headphones.
Yeah, but you don't know if that's common in this world or not. I know it's not, but I just, for sake of argument.
Yeah, but I'm just like, he just gives him the player pin. But like, it's somewhat important. We don't even see how Neku got the special pin in the show. And in the show, they make it out to be like the special pin hiding as a player pin. No, it was just a normal player pin. It just was player pins block imprinting, which we already know because players can't scan each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know why that was so hard. Ugh. It's the small things. I'm going through the small things. I'm being petty. But yeah, so then he proposes pretty much the exact same game. Neku complains about how he finally found a friend that he could relate to, but Josh had to go and kill him. And then life's crossroads are often as simple as a pull of a trigger. And then it's Josh right before they start the game that says, "Don't you remember what H told you?" and then he collects Neku's entry fee for the shooting game. Again, we don't really know what Neku's entry fee was.
Don't they, like, again, they keep on throwing this entry fee term around like it's willy-nilly at this point, it seems, in the game, and it just seems kind of pointless.
Yeah, I wish it had more meaning. This seems like I thought that this game like explained every single detail. It didn't explain every single detail, but like that was part of the charm of like it didn't like we didn't need a whole game to explain these details.
Yeah, I just, sometimes throwing things around willy-nilly just kind of what's the right word? Like, de-escalates. That's what I'm looking for. De-escalates the conflict.
Yeah. But yeah, so Neku is like crying as the counting starts. This is like in a cutscene. And then he raises his gun, but like his stance is really shaky, like he can't really focus his aim. And then eventually he just drops his stance. He still holds onto the gun, he just lowers the gun. And gets shot. And we don't really see Josh's expression when he shoots Neku. But again, this is important, and I'll go into it in a second. Neku doesn't fall backwards, he falls forwards. He's on his stomach. And his eyes slowly like shut. Like it looks like he's about to go to sleep, not like he just died.
Mm-hmm.
And then his eyes open up like really fast, and he just sees a white background, H and Josh standing next to each other, and Josh is laughing. And then next thing he sees, he wakes up in the scramble crossing like he has done every other week.
And every day in the anime, basically.
Yeah. So in the game, there was a specific like cutscene that played when Neku wakes up in the scramble. It was always ba 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 da bum, doom. Eyes open, and Neku on his stomach, waking up groggy while people walk past him. And in the game, it's somewhat ambiguous because these cutscenes are kind of like slideshows, but it looks like during the wake up, instead of people walking past him, they are standing around him. But he stays curled up in a ball crying in this cutscene. And then they show what looks like people walking past him while he's in the ball crying. And then he just screams to the sky, "Why? What the hell?" And like hell echoes on for eternity. And then we get to the epilogue, but yeah. So we don't know, like, and I think this probably does answer the question, the show does. And it's one of those again where it's like this was a mystery, but like I didn't need to know the answer. It was left up for interpretation. Where it's I'm not upset with the answer the show gave us, because it was one of two options. Either Neku was in the game again, or he was alive.
Yeah.
But I think the show kind of definitively says he was live. He was back in the OG. Right?
Yeah. No, it for sure says that.
Yeah. So like, I'm not disappointed. Well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm somewhat disappointed just because it was one of those things where I'm like, was this a mystery? Yes. Did I necessarily want the answer? Like, I'm not disappointed in what the answer is because, you can infer that, but I like that it was a little more ambiguous. Yeah. So I just like gave you the rundown. And we haven't even gone to the secret report stuff or the final speech, which I'm very upset the show cut.
Oh, they cut something that big, huh?
Yeah, Neku's final speech.
But
what do you think of like the game based off like how I described the game ending versus the show?
I mean, honestly, I still like, and I don't know, maybe it's just because my idea of it is kind of already tainted by the anime. But I feel like it's hard not to see basically Neku being alive. But otherwise, I mean, all the other changes are just kind of minute in detail, in my opinion. So again, like I said, could just be the anime speaking. But
I they cover pretty much all the same conversations. I do, and this is also Japanese audio, English subtitles. I do prefer some of the wording in the game, um, but that's translation for you. But the gist of everything is there. It is just Josh does not show up until later. He doesn't show up until the Trail of the Judged, which doesn't make sense because the Room of Reckoning was the furthest point. It was the throne room, whatever. But like,
mm-hmm.
I liked that we see Josh and Shades have screen time together. We see them talk about the game and talk about like, man, I was really rooting for you. I really wish you had won. Thought you had a good idea, but shame that it failed. Shades thanking Josh for the opportunity to fight for Shibuya. Shades thanking the player or saying like, "Well done, player, congratulating you."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Well played, player," not "well played, Neku." And I know he's referred to it several times, but as the player, like it feels like a
It
well
probably
done
was
to
a
you.
wink and nod type thing, you know.
Yeah. And obviously, in a show, if he said "well played, player," the watcher is not the player, so that would
Yeah.
get
Well,
lost.
I mean, yeah, yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah, but yeah. So I'm actually gonna go through um the speech because the speech happens before what we see in the anime. Actually, so where was that in my notes? I have to find it. I'm just gonna read the speech like verbatim, essentially, because it's not super long.
Okay.
Um, but this is so after he screams, "What the hell?" we see a text that says 7 days later. And this is Neku speaking. There'll be some lines from other characters, and I'll explain where that is. Where he says, "Same streets, same crowds, too. Yeah, Shibuya hasn't changed a bit. But still, I don't think I can forgive you yet. You don't see it, but these few weeks were very hard for me. Learning to trust people, having that trust broken, finding out that the town that I pegged as small, stifling, and empty wasn't any of those things. Uh, well, where was I? Oh yeah. So then we get flashbacks of Shiki, Josh, and Beat. So we get I keep losing my place. So we got Shiki saying, "Let me in. Tell me what you're thinking." Uh, Josh, only by allowing strangers in can we find new ways to be ourselves. Shiki, I'm scared. Scared of getting a second chance. Beat, listen up. Phones, I ain't telling you twice. You gotta help me. You gotta help me save her. Josh, oh no, Shiki, yeah. Neku, that's the first time you said my name. Josh, but Neku, I thought you couldn't afford to lose. Give up on yourself and you give up on the world too. And then B, you ain't my partner anymore. You are my friend. And then finally, Shiki, once you see the real me, will we still be friends? And we finally cut back to Neku. And Neku says, I'm glad. Glad that I met you guys. You made me pick up on things I probably would have just gone on ignoring. Trust your partner, and I do. I can't forgive you yet, but I trust you. You took care of things, right? Otherwise, Shibuya would be gone, and my world with it. Hey, did I mention? I've got friends now. We're getting together for the first time in a week. See you there. And then we hear, hey, phones, over here. and it's being Rhyme waving at Hachiko.
Mm-hmm.
I love that speech. I don't know how well it would have worked in the animation. I am very bummed that nothing even remotely like that.
I think they must have just cut the flashback stuff.
Yeah,
at least from what I can remember.
No, there was nothing like this in there.
No, there was like a little thing about like just like he does mention, I think, Joshua a little bit in that speech and whatnot. I do think like it is brought up just a little bit because like some of that sounded familiar.
Well, a lot of besides the flashback stuff, he might have said like a line, but he like it was nothing like this speech, and I'm sure you can guess who Neku's speaking to in this speech.
Pretty sure it's Josh, right?
Yeah. You know, he's saying like, "I can't forgive you, but I trust you. Trust your partner, I do." And he says like, "You must have taken care of things, right? Otherwise, Shibuya would be gone and my world with it. And yet, here we are." Yeah, I'm very upset about the speech not making it. But yeah, that's life.
Yeah.
But yeah, your thoughts on that terrible reading of the speech? It was only terrible when I had to do the flashback stuff.
No, I mean, honestly, yeah, no, it is pretty good. I do feel like some of that stuff was kind of represented, maybe just not like in the same way, but just yeah. Because like I do believe Neku does give a little epilogue speech before like they meet with like Shiki, and then I believe it's like then it's Joshua like covering the speech.
I know what you're talking
for the rest
about
of the way.
now. Yeah, so
and also the trust your partner thing is also, I believe, something like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's just, you already said that was part of the original confrontation with Joshua.
Oh yeah, that was another thing too. So actually, I want to go back to Joshua shooting Josh. So this is a theory that I saw, and I want to give shout outs to who started this theory. I don't, sorry if I mispronounced the YouTube name. It's Zyzix, Zyzix. It's called "We've Been Wrong About This Ending for Years!" Exclamation mark brackets. The world ends with you. Mini theory bracket. Again, the link to this video will be in the description. She has a theory about the ending of this game, and specifically Josh killing Neku. And in it, she describes in the game, we see when Josh shoots Neku in the flashback, the first time in the OG, there's a point of impact. We see where the bullet hits Neku, and he bounces back and reacts to it. And in New Day, there's this part where Neku gets shot, and again we see the bullet impact, this time in the back, and again his body reacts to being shot in the back and he falls. But in this scene, in this ending, we don't see the point of impact at all, and Neku falls forward when he's shot in the chest. And so their theory was that Josh only shot Neku once. Everyone assumed that Josh shot twice, but like maybe, just maybe, Josh only shot once. Because the rules of the game, as stated in the game, was not that you had to shoot the other person. It was simply that whoever shoots first.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea was like, Josh shot and he missed on purpose, but all he had to do was shoot first. And so Neku falls forward and goes to sleep because he's being brought back, essentially.
I see.
I like that theory, and the show definitely debunks it. Except I have a feeling that's not the original intent. I mean, I don't know if this theory was the original intent, but like the show does weird things, and I don't think everything the show did was the original creator's intent either. Am I wrong in saying that?
I don't know. It's hard to say exactly how much say they had in the script and whatnot, but I mean, I know they were definitely involved in the process at least a little bit. So, I mean, they have to be in the first place, anyways, because the scripts have to be run by them in the first place. But
yeah, no, I'm not saying like oh, the original people had no say in it. Like, I feel like that was a rework.
Like, I don't know, potentially. I mean, it depends. It's really hard to say, honestly, because we don't exactly know the production process for a lot of anime, including this one. So
yeah. But yeah. So then we get. So after talking about that, both the escapist article and that theory will be in the description below, as well as Funimation. Go watch the show on Funimation. Support, the original creation of it.
Yeah, don't be filthy pirates.
We are the pirates who don't do anything. So yeah. Where was it? Yeah, so we see Neku in the show. He wakes up in 10-4, and we see the like technician that we saw in like the first episode. He's back. We see Makoto, who is like a businessman who didn't really. Well, he was in the second episode briefly for like one second.
He appears other times when like he's selling the red pin, like the red pins and whatnot.
That was the second episode, I think.
No, I mean by in other episodes too. Like in that sellout thing, I'm pretty sure that's him as well.
Maybe. I don't know. And then we see Shooter and Yama. We have not seen them the entire show. Those two are essentially like Beyblade fans, but like for Tinpin. But Tinpin wasn't in the show, so I didn't think we would see him at all. Nice reference to have them there at the end, walking past Neku. I love Shooter, Dan, and Yama. I wish there was more because they're very funny characters.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it wasn't plot relevant.
Yeah. Even though, one of the 3 missions you get during Joshua's week involved Tinpin, but no, we'll just make it so you have to go to the building where Tinpin takes place, but no Tinpin.
Well, it's just because it's like kind of a mini game type thing, but whatever.
I wanted my Tinpin, dang it. I'm like the only person that likes it. Let me have this.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's more of a mini game, and that's not plot relevant. That's all.
Everyone hates it. I'm the only one that likes it.
I've never played it nor seen it, so I couldn't tell you.
So, do you remember on the 3DS version of Smash Bros, there was a way to like play a mini game where you could take your like player icon, whatever, for online and like swipe it around and knock other ones off of a board like a sumo battle?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Tinpin is, like, exactly.
Okay. I mean, I don't really care for it. I didn't really hate it, but I didn't really love it either. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That literally is what Tinpin is. The only difference is pins have what they call, I believe, yamas or yamis, something like that. It's been a while. And it's basically like you can jump and then land on someone. You can turn it to a spike ball for a few seconds. You can spin a hammer around you in a circle, or you can have like a hand push you back on if you fall off. And different pins have different amounts of each of those 4. Like that's the only difference. Besides that, it's literally that Smash for 3DS mini game.
I see. Well, at least it can't be bad as the actual Beyblade video games.
True.
I actually watched like a video on the Beyblade video games recently. It's pretty good. And how bad they are, but yeah. No.
Yeah, so we see Neku is back in the OG, and everything is still here. And I think that's what you were talking about. was Neku was looking around like the OG. Like I'm here, Shibuya's here. Josh must have changed. And like that's like as far as he goes. It's just him.
I feel like there was a little bit more than that, but I might be wrong. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah. I didn't find it even worth writing, really. And then we see everyone back to life at 10-4. So how this scene worked in the game was you hear, yo, phones over here. And then it cuts to the credits and we see everything play out in the credits, essentially, after this point. But we see Neku take off his headphones. He looks really weird. I didn't like it.
Well, I mean, he didn't fully take them off. He just put them basically around his neck.
Yeah, but like his hair without the phones there was just weird.
Yeah, it looked fine. Looked like anime hair.
I was just like, oh, that's weird. I don't like it. Put them back on.
Well, hey, at least you don't have to worry about it looking weird because they flattened his hair.
A little bit. But it's like Sora level flat now, so it's fine. You know, there's a problem when Sora level flat hair is a good amount of flat hair.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at Kingdom Hearts, Sora's spikiness compared to 3's, it's a huge difference.
Yeah. So we get then Josh and Honeycomb having this conversation, looking down on Neku and crew as they walk through.
Hold on, don't we get the Shiki appearance thing?
Yeah, I forgot. We do get the Shiki half appearance. This happens during the credits.
Yeah, that's such a tease.
You get more in this show than you did in the game, so don't complain.
I still am going to complain because come on, you gotta show the face. Come on.
Well, the whole point is that it doesn't matter. She says, like, once you see the real me, will we still real me?
Okay, yeah, that doesn't mean I still don't want to see it because I want to see the full character design. Gosh dang it!
It's like, no, we will still be friends no matter what you look like.
Okay, I that's not the part that, like, that's fine and all, but I still want to see the entire character appearance.
I was actually scared that we would see the entire appearance. I was happy that, although I believe Neo, we will see Shiki. Because I think there was a trailer where there's someone dressed similar to Shiki. And I think we might see Shiki at some point.
Well, it wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, I guess it's fine at this point. It's been 13 years, but I just was like, again, it was one of those things where it was ambiguous. It was kind of a mystery, and I was just like, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, because just right now, she's just a female hentai protagonist.
Why did you don't? Oh no! Why? Why? Don't put that in my head.
It will slowly corrupt everything you love somehow.
You're an awful human being. Why did you have to mention that?
Hey, I just sometimes when I'm thinking, you just make connections that you shouldn't make, but
yeah,
content.
Don't stop.
But content, Derek.
Yeah, so then we get the Josh Honeycomb conversation. In the game, this was really short. I'm just going to share the game version right now. Shorter than the speech. Oh, gosh. I'm like crying now that you ruined forever. So.
Didn't I do this one other time with something else?
Yes, you did. I don't even remember what it was. I don't want to think about it.
You see, it isn't that bad. You'll forget it in like a few days. Because you got that good old goldfish memory.
I do. So this is the entire conversation. It's one-sided. Honeycomb is the only one that speaks this whole conversation. And also, Josh is looking down on Neku and crew, but he's in his like glowing ethereal form.
Because he has to be T-posing for dominance.
He wasn't T-posing, but sure.
I know he wasn't. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, but he was in his god form at this point. He was not teenage angsty form. But we get this line. You know, what did I write here? I can't read this. Oh, hey, okay. You know,
get better at handwriting.
Yeah, I do. You know, this mess will have repercussions upstairs. But hey, at least things are back to normal, right? What? You seem down. Hey, it's their world. They get to decide what to do with it. We just... At this point, Josh sprouts angel wings, turns into like an orb of light, and flies off. Some folks just don't take no for an answer. Hanekoma sprouts angel wings, turns into a ball of light, and soars off. So I had to do my best to murky up Dream Drop Distance. I feel like I succeeded.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking about that before we started recording. I'm like, this son of a... He fooled me again.
Me or Nomura?
You.
But yeah, I was literally like, well, Dream Drop Distance is weird with this version of Josh. I have to murky up why Josh was weird. Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I feel good.
I can't believe I really have fallen like practically hook, line, and sinker for about every single thing in this this podcast.
I am a god.
Either that, or I'm just recording when I'm too tired and I'm susceptible to just following every single word we say.
It's not 1:15. It's nothing. Stop talking. It's fine.
Right, I'm not slowly falling asleep while talking.
I'm doing most of the talking, though, to be fair. Sadly.
No, you're fine. I'm actually quite awake. I'm just have my head shut.
Okay, so let me... Now we get into the secret report. So we kind of have a short version of that conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they say everything is back to normal, but the higher ups are upset. So
yes,
there are terms and there are things in the secret reports that are not in the game or in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Not once during the main game do they mention angels.
Until the end.
No.
Or is that just the anime that mentions?
We see the angel wings, but we don't see any actual reference to angels.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can assume they exist just based off the ending.
Yeah. We find out that and so when they talk about the higher ups, there are angels that watch over like the... That's gonna sound like the MCU. They watch over like the multiverse and keep the Reapers in check. And we learn
so,
that
what do they have? Some sort of like time authority type thing that looks over and makes sure that like they don't break too off.
Well, so one of the major things that we get in the secret reports, I believe, let me check. I believe it was Joshua Day 2. Oh yeah, Joshua Day 2. Today, an alert was handed down. The discovery of a fallen angel. A fallen angel is one who has broken the angel's code. A criminal. The crime? Revealing the secrets of taboo noise refinery to the game master Minamimoto. Minamimoto knows the composer's origin identity, secret even to the conductor, and has chased him to the real ground. The fallen angel may also have supplied him with this information. So, the big mystery of most of the secret reports is, who is this fallen angel? The show comes right out and tells us who the fallen angel is.
It's freaking Hanekoma.
Yeah, Hanekoma is the fallen angel. So I'm gonna spoil Another Day because we didn't get a chance to play it, and New Day because we didn't get a chance to play it. Hopefully that will change. Announcement coming up later. But Another Day is technically canon. It is a
because of the whole multiverse theory.
It is an alternate universe where everyone is obsessed with Tinpin, and Neku is not emo. He is like loves everything and is happy and enjoys life and is bright and cheerful. And then if you go to the Shibuya River with Joshua Beat and Shiki, the alternate versions of Joshua Beat and Shiki, you meet the real version of Josh, the one that we spent week 2 with. And we find out that real Josh is when Minamimoto shot the laser beam, the level eye flare. The real Josh didn't actually take the level eye flare. He fled to an alternate dimension and used the level eye flare as cover. But it takes so much energy, and Reapers aren't made to do that. So Hanekoma, an angel who has the ability to travel to alternate universes, had to go and find out which universe Josh was in and grab him. So that was another day. And that's why Josh shows up so late, because it took Hanekoma that long to find Josh.
I see. So would that explain the strange laser thing in the sky from episode 4? Or not episode 4, really. Episode 1. Or was it like episode 1?
2.
I think it was episode 1. 2.
I don't know. Nothing explains that. I mean, it was Josh looking out for his proxy. I mean, we get this on his day 1. As predicted by the composer, his proxy has entered the game for a second time. The proxy has proven his aptitude and will be joined in the next game by the composer himself as his new partner. There are 3 reasons behind the composer's choice of actions. 1, to ascertain the conductor's strategy. 2, to educate his proxy. And 3, to protect him. And so, that's what it is.
I see.
But we still might go over the secret reports, not as in depth, because this does go over quite a few. But there are still things that secret reports the show doesn't go into.
There's a
lot in these.
Yeah, I mean, definitely can do a follow up on
it. So let's see where we were. Everything back to normal at higher ups. Kichiniji Reaper in charge was unprecedented. I believe that was the first secret report. Let me see. As is common knowledge, all games in the UG take place under our supervision. However, this particular game is saddled with a nigh unbelievable set of extenuating circumstances, catching the attention of the higher plane. Thus, I will be taking a more hands-on role this time, as detailed in this report. The core differences in this game are as follows. Its role in plans for Shibuya's destruction, the composer's absence from the UG, the resulting limitations to his power, and the game being played by proxy. Yeah. You might see later on. I didn't actually take notes on the secret reports like I should have.
Oh, it's okay. We can go further in depth later on. So
Kichiniji Reaper in charge of the game, unprecedented. Check. Risk for Josh to fight with Neku. So let's see where that was. I think that's also day 1 of Josh Week. No, this is Shiki day 1. Okay, where am I? This list. Here we go. However, using his abilities could reveal his identity as such. The greatest risk, however, lies in the composer joining the proxy for this game. The composer's presence, his tremendously high vibe, will place a great deal of physical and psychological strain on the proxy. Furthermore, the proxy's victory in the previous game has won him back his memory. The self-actualization loop binding the proxy is thus stronger than ever, more deeply ensconced even than the envy cleared from Shiki in the previous game. There's a possibility of the proxy soul destabilizing, negating its progress during the previous game. Slight problems also persist with the proxy's personality. How long will the proxy be able to bear being side by side with the composer? So in those secret reports, they track quite in detail Neku's character growth, essentially. If like in the game, we don't really notice that much. We're like, okay, he was with Shiki, and Shiki was a nice person, and it took him a long time to trust her, but like he was nice to her. And then we get Josh, who was kind of just a prick, and we understand like, oh yeah, I like this guy's kind of being a jerk. I understand why he would not trust him. No, this was the self-actualization loop that is taking hold of Neku and is deeply like destabilizing his soul. It's like, what?
Sounds like some Nomura stuff to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I say this, but I'm also the person who's followed like Kingdom Hearts and Blaze Blue lore, so I mean, you know.
Yeah. No, the secret reports are wild.
Gosh, I'd love just to review the Blaze Blue story with you one time, just to see if you get it all.
Oh, probably not.
So gosh, that stuff gets wild.
Yeah. Kichuniji asked Kat to make Red Skull as composer. That is a good question. I forget what day that is at all. Oh, here it is. Day 4 for Week Beat. The conductor has begun his work with the Red Skull pins. By bringing Shibuya's collective consciousness in line with his own, he hopes to accomplish his goal of rebuilding Shibuya. The composer seals, unparalleled among Reapers, whose strong presence was central to the composer's ability to govern Shibuya.
Wait, hold on. There is that word. There's that very selfish word.
What?
Goal. Yeah. How dare he have a goal?
So you think he's selfish because he was trying to save Shibuya, and the only way
I mean, you know, why can't you just be like Neku and just trust what Josh was doing?
Because it was because of Neku's character growth that gave Joshua the reason. Because think about what he says. He says,
"No, I know. I'm just honestly."
Yeah. He says Shibuya is full of possibilities, but the people are too blinded, too clouded to see those possibilities. And I can't allow that influence to spread. Neku, who was completely closed off from the world and didn't want to change, has gone from that to trusting a guy pointing a gun at his chest who he's known already killed him.
Yeah. I mean, you know, would also be just simpler if he just tried to talk to Joshua.
Yeah, so he's like, if Neku could change that drastically in 3 weeks, there was hope for Shibuya still. So imprint Kitaniji as well on humans. Missions as cover to distribute pins. That's all in the secret reports. I just forget where. Not super important. Then we get Cat's graffiti imprints, all that come into contact. Right. Here, day 5 for Joshua's week. The proxy feels an affection for the art of the designer Cat, myself. As he was picked by the composer, this is hardly coincidence. It was an inevitability. Cat's creative works are embedded with command codes. His art acts as a medium for mass imprinting. The imprinting players use works only on an individual base. However, through art, one can affect anyone who comes into contact with the work. I imbue my art with 2 command codes. The first is enjoy the moment more. This strengthens the imagination. The proxy received this signal loud and clear, though past trauma precluded him from responding accordingly. The second code, gather, calls to those with strong imagination, hence the inevitability. Why wouldn't the composer find his worthy proxy standing in front of my graffiti? A single reason exists for rigging my art this way. The creation of the future requires imagination. My art is widely accepted in Shibuya. This proves that those with imagination sufficient to create the future are gathering in the area. Shibuya's future is looking very bright. In the show, he just says, "I put one code in there. Enjoy every moment." Neku was most impacted. I like the secret report version more.
Like, yeah, I mean, I kind of get it. Just the whole, like, I mean, it sounds good, but also just the gather thing is also kind of vague. Like, I mean, I get it, but like, also it's just like I can see why they maybe just wanted to cut it to keep it simpler.
So you have to go through all the secret reports in order. Obviously, we're jumping around. I'm not explaining everything. The purpose of the Reapers game is for people with strong imagination to go back and create more people with strong imagination. People are meant to progress. They are supposed to go from people to Reapers to composers to angel. And it says like very few people make it along that path. A lot of the Reapers die or are killed by players. But the purpose of the Reapers game is to get rid of people with weak imaginations, to nurture the people with strong imaginations, and to gather more people to create a brighter future.
I see.
Yeah. So, like, you have to have known the previous reports to understand why the gather thing is important, but that is a big part of what's happening here. But yeah, then we see Josh spared Shibuya because Neku trusted him. That I believe is just like the last day. Let me see. The composer defeated the conductor. The composer defeated the proxy. However, he has stayed his decision to destroy Shibuya. It seems the course of the game has brought about a change of heart in the composer. Yes, Shibuya persists, but it is no longer the same city it was a month ago. As instead, a completely new Shibuya has arisen. As the composer has changed, so Shibuya itself has metamorphosized. 1 month previous, Shibuya was plagued with problems, dire enough to motivate the composer to destroy it. Today, Shibuya shifted into what we angels believe to be the optimal parallel world. So yeah, Josh stayed his hand because he believes there was enough change. Cat cheering Neku on with his yellow pin. This was another problem I had that I forgot to mention. In the game, he just makes the Reaper sigil with all three of his partners there. In the show, it like becomes his yellow pin, like the yellow pin that Hanekoma left for him. And then becomes the Reaper sigil, and I didn't understand why.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think about that just because I don't know what the game is like. So
yeah, I just thought that was.
I mean, it's no different.
Yeah, it was just another one that was like, why? It was weird. Why do it? And then we like see composer's special pin disguised as a player pin. Again, it's like, no. The point was he had two player pins, two normal player pins, and it was one of them gets destroyed, the other one still is able to block the imprinting. Like, I don't know why it had to be some special floating MacGuffin.
Yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, and then we see Cat wanted Minamoto as a failsafe if Kitaniji lost. Let me see. Yeah, so this is the Another Day secret report. You see, I am the fallen angel who taught Minamoto how to refine taboo noise. Minamoto owes his successful rebirth to the corrections I made to his flawed taboo refinery sigil. I must hide in Pork City, which is Merc City, I believe, in the show, for fear that my alternate self in this world may report me on sight. Minamoto is my backup.
What? Sorry, I just know, like you said that, well, not you said, but the report said that Hanekoma fixed the refinery.
Yeah.
Then why were you questioning it so much in like the show that he fixed it?
It wasn't that I was questioning that he fixed it. It was complaining and again trying to obscure the fact that he had fixed it. Because in the game, what happens is we don't see that scene at all play out.
Mm-hmm.
All we see is the one picture of the past of Neku, or not Neku, of Hanekoma standing by the sigil, and the sigil hadn't actually gone off yet. So we don't know why
Mm-hmm.
he was there at all. He could have been just studying it, could have been fixing it, could have been trying to destroy it. We don't know. Um, but there is a clue in the game where when we first see Minamimoto in Josh's week making the sigil, he spouts off a lot of like numbers, like 1-2, 3-8, 8-4, 5-6. And then we talk to Hanekoma, and Hanekoma says, "Oh," like a day later, like 2 days later, and Hanekoma's like, "Oh, I have to go. I have a business to run." And as he walks away, he just says like 4-6, 5-7, like as he walks away. So you get that small hint of like, wait a second, what? But that's before you know anything about what the refinery does, so you don't really question it, but you kind of have to question it.
I see.
So that's why I was complaining. It was just like the fact that they show it, because this is the another day secret report. This is the last one you get.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that they just put that in the show like halfway through, it's like, oh gosh, why would you show that? Yes, Hanekoma is the fallen angel. Yeah, so we get Minamimoto is my backup plan to ensure Shibuya's survival. If the composer does not change his mind, this unique city will be lost. I must prevent that at any cost. Thus, I have deemed it necessary to cross the boundaries angels usually respect. I happily accept the stigma of fallen angel for this cause. And then he says, one last thing to the composer's pick. Neku Sakuraba, the future you must choose is within you. I am glad to have had the chance to meet you. So he just made Minamimoto as a backup plan. If Kitaniji lost, hopefully Minamimoto would have been able to stop Josh from destroying.
Mm-hmm. Which I believe he admits to it at the end, doesn't
Yes.
he?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we see Nao and Sota revived. We do not see that in the game at all. So
yeah. Oh, speaking of like the little things that they show in that montage type thing through all the characters, we see Karya getting revenge against what was it,
Izuki.
Yeah, with the mustard thing that she did early on.
Yep, that was funny.
I'm like, oh, they didn't have to fulfill that, but I love that they did. honestly, I don't know. I like Karya a little bit too much.
No, he's great. I love him, and he's back in Neo.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Oh man,
glad.
I forget which report this was, but what we learn in one of the reports, I'm tangled in my own wires. What's going on here? Sorry. So one of the things that we learn, let me see if I can find it, is that even though like Rhyme gets revived at the end, she still lost her game.
Mm-hmm.
Her entry fee is still gone. She does not get that back.
Mm.
So let's see. Was that in the first week? I think might have been.
Like the secret report.
Yeah.
And I would think that would make sense, but then again, I mean, they're kind of out of order, aren't they? So
Somewhat. They all deal with something pertaining to that day, but like there'll be times where we say, I'll bring that up at a later point to further elaborate on.
I see.
Which one was it? I can't find it. But yeah, so he basically says like he explains what the purpose of the entry fee is. and the purpose is like to make you question how important that really is to you. Like it's not taken, to be mean necessarily. It's to inspire and to improve your imagination. Oh yeah, it also talks here about bringing people back to life. Only the composer can do that, and here's how it's explained. Only the composer possesses the level of imagination necessary to reincarnate. It is beyond the conductor's means. So, for the entire 3 weeks, even if Neku truly won the game without any ifs and or buts, he could not be revived. Which is why Shiki was actually made the entry fee. Yeah, he was like stuck in a situation was like, oh crap, I have to revive at least one of them, but I can't actually revive them. Just make her the entry fee.
I see.
It just so worked that he also cared about her. Yeah, I can't find it. But yeah, so like we don't know what Nao and Sota's entry fee were, but none of them have a back. Beat actually does get his entry fee back, and because Beat's entry fee was her memories of Beat, she does remember him.
I see.
Oh, here it is. It's Beat Day 3. Beat's greatest desire is to bring her back to life. Even if revived, though, Rhyme still lost the game. Her entry fee is non-refundable. I do not know what the girl's entry fee was, but a life without it, the thing she held most dear, would be filled with grief and hardship. But is the void in one's heart caused by loss never filled? I think it can be, but it may take some time. But something else will come along to fill that empty space, so long as one enjoys the present. In other words, we needn't mourn the loss of that which we hold dear, if only people realize this. The composer did not impose the entry fee upon players to cause them anguish. In experiencing life without the thing one most values, players are forced to re-examine just how crucial those things really are. The hope is that by the close of the game, players will be able to take a hard look at themselves and be able to take on the future with a new outlook on life. The entry fee exists to force players to see the truth about themselves. It is a test posed by the composer to spur players' self-enlightenment. So, that. Yeah, so we get that. And then we get an interesting list of like necessary conditions for things to have worked out properly. They say like Cat's awards to Neku, Josh's game with Megumi, Minimoto turning taboo. All these things were necessary for Neku to change, right?
That's quite a lot.
Yeah. In the game, they actually do give a similar list, although this list is very different. I almost kind of prefer the shows, actually. Because this list never made sense to me. To complete this puzzle, all the pieces had to be set in the proper places. If even one was incorrect, the entire picture would be ruined. Rhyme's selfless display of kindness. Higashizawa's bottomless career ambitions. Konishi's heart of stone. The conductor's wild actions born from overflowing love. All of these were necessary if Shibuya was to be born anew. There are no extra pieces, no irrelevant components. I don't know what Higashizawa's bottomless career ambitions had to do with anything.
Okay, who's Higashizawa?
He was the first game master.
Oh. Yeah. Who?
Yeah, exactly. He's like the most irrelevant.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, no, that was really weird.
Yeah, I'm like, Rhyme's selfless display of kindness. Okay. The conductor's wild actions born from overflowing love. Yeah. Konishi's heart of stone. Maybe she's more important. Higashizawa's bottomless career. Like, no, I prefer, Cat's words of encouragement, the actual game that Neku was playing for, and Minamimoto's wild actions to try to topple the game.
Yeah.
Like that is a better list. Like, I wish if I could make the list, it would be Rhyme's display of kindness, Conductor's wild actions, Cat's words, Josh's game with Megumi. That would have been it. I would have taken 2 and 2, but as the list stands, the show's list is better.
Yeah.
A risk of Cat's fall from grace. Yep, we already talked about that. He's the fallen angel. What did I write here? Oh yeah. With the player, all necessary for Neku's metamorphosis. You covered that. And then Josh looking lonely, and then they both go angel wings and fly. And then this new cat graffiti with Neku's headphones and the angel wings is the final shot.
Mm.
That was not in the game. I really like that. But wow, we got through the final episode. That was long.
Yeah.
I wanted to break this down.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I got one shot. This is my favorite game of all time. This is my favorite ending of all time. I gotta break this thing apart.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So the show, I'm gonna break them up into thirds because there's 3 weeks. The first week of the show was awful. It was
really
garbage.
I mean, what would have ever led to that being a guess?
The second week, I think, was pretty good. Like, it made some changes, but I think a lot of the changes actually were kind of for the better. And even some of the weirder ones, they were just kind of nothings. The third week started off kind of shaky, but I think it ended really strong. But again, it was just a lot of weird changes of why? Why change it? If it's not broken, why? Why make day 5 and 6
honestly,
into day 5?
I mean, other than just the day conundrum of week 3, most of the changes of week 3 seem small. Week 1, is probably where the most reshuffling I think happened, but also just the pacing of week 1 was way too fast, and thus kind of ruined that week. And then week 2 was good. I think week 2 was perfectly paced. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I think week 2 was the only one where a day got a full episode.
Yeah. I mean, if we aren't including
the day 5 and 6.
That final stuff for week 3, but we're not talking any more about that.
You know how long it would have taken to add a day transition? About
I know
30 seconds.
I know. Not long. I know. We're not talking about it anymore. It's over. It's done with.
Oh, it's a day 6. It just made so many dumb decisions. Where
hey, Eric, calm down. Calm down. Okay, I get it wasn't the 21 days you were looking for. It was 20. Okay, you're good.
I was owed 21. They didn't even give me another day.
Okay, you still got hentai protagonist Shiki. It's all good.
Don't stop. Oh god, that image is gonna be burned in my head. Let's talk about the credits, because I think the credits actually did a very interesting job foreshadowing this. And I didn't want to say anything because I would have to obviously give it away.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I did say halfway through, oh, I think the credits are foreshadowing. And you're like, foreshadowing what? I was like, I'll explain when it's over. And I don't think you ever got it.
No, you explained it to me after the last episode, but yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think you ever got it before the last episode, I'm saying.
No, I did not.
Yeah, so in the credits, we see all the characters that are in a static shot. They're not moving, and they're all looking away, they're looking down, they all kind of look sad. And then you see Josh.
They aren't looking directly at the audience. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, they're looking down, away, not at the camera, looking somewhat sad. Then we see Josh, who goes from eyes closed, and it cuts to him with eyes open, looking dead on with the camera, and he's kind of smiling, but like a half smile.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have the same gloom that the other characters have. And right when he opens his eyes, the glass starts breaking. Um, and then
Also with the line there, like the word I believe is said around that time also is um, like, like something about breaking, I believe.
yeah, but and then there's a later shot where it's all five of them standing in front of the 104 as sunlight comes, and they're all in the shadows until the sunlight starts to rise, and light hits all of the faces except light never hits Josh. Josh always is in the shadows, and he's standing in the back, far away from the rest of the group. His back towards the group. And so I was like, huh. So
Even in
Josh is,
the in the team lineup thing at the end, I believe it's more of Joshua facing off against Minamimoto than the rest of the Reapers.
yeah. Well, that's another thing. Only Minamimoto knew, well, him and Hanekoma knew Josh was the composer. Kitaniji
Mm-hmm.
did not know Josh was the composer.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned that, but interesting thing there.
Yeah, I believe you brought it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, just to kind of wrap this all up, overall, the anime was pretty solid for a game anime adaptation. Despite,
Um,
I mean, okay, I'm not gonna say it's perfect because I know that there was a lot of changes that you've brought up throughout this entire thing. But I mean, I've seen a lot worse for game anime adaptations, to be honest.
that is
So
true, but Persona 5 is hilarious.
yeah, I wasn't even just talking about that. I was just more just in general because I've watched
Yeah.
quite a few. But
That said, God help me now. I still would love to see a Kingdom Hearts anime.
do you think they can explain Kingdom Hearts in an episode?
No, but I still want to see it. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm a masochist, but I would love a Kingdom Hearts anime on Disney Plus, but that will never happen.
Well, I mean, Disney Plus is doing that like Star Wars anthology animated thing where like a whole bunch of studios are doing like one-off Star Wars animated episodes and whatnot.
Oh, that'd actually be dope. Getting Unchained Key as an anime on Disney Plus and
I
Good
mean,
Bird as an anime.
yeah, I mean, it just all depends on, well, I believe Square. Um, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, just Square would have to be in the discussion with it as well.
Yeah.
But
No, obviously.
yeah,
But I'm going to assume if Kingdom Hearts is going to get something, it will be on Disney Plus, not on
Uh,
Funimation or Crunchyroll.
I mean, potentially. I mean, it just depends if like, well, I mean, yeah, Disney would probably need to back it too. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah, it's like
potentially.
you can't tell a Kingdom Hearts story without having Disney there. It's not possible.
Well, yeah, I wasn't meaning that. I just meant by more of like, I was just like, like talking about like the like who has to be talked to when they do that stuff and whatnot. But yeah, no, they definitely would.
Yeah, it's
But
like if Sora shows up, you can't have Sora without Donald and Goofy, and he has Mickey on his freaking keychain.
yeah, well, I wasn't implying that. Just more of like it was
Yeah.
just the right standpoint and whatnot. But anyways, but yeah,
Um, thoughts. I said kind of like my breakdown. The second week was obviously the best. Um, I don't know. There was so many changes. A lot of them just weird, but like it was enjoyable. But I would not recommend this above the game. That said,
yeah, it's just that unfortunately the best way to play that game is still on the DS.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is like the problem is too is that the Switch version is awful. Like playing it on the TV is the worst. Like I don't even have bad like arms or bad wrists, and yet like after 10 minutes I'm hurting from it. It's not a good
It wasn't a
like
good port.
no. And like you can play with the touchscreen, and please, if you're going to play the Switch version, play the touchscreen. But the Switch wasn't really made as a touchscreen device. Like it's awkward to hold. The phone, even though you don't get New Day, it's $20 and you get everything else besides New Day. Like
Honestly, the Switch feels fine to me, but then again, that's probably just because I'm not the type of person who has big hands like a lot of people do, and that tends to be the problem. But that's just
well,
me.
how many touchscreen games do you play? Like even when you play in handheld, you hold on to the controllers. In
Yeah,
touchscreen, you have to hold on to the Switch console. You don't have any hands on a controller, and you are just touching it like an iPad. But it's an
I don't think that's
awkward
that
shape.
hard.
It's an awkward shape. It's not because you're also holding it horizontally, not vertically.
It's fine. But anyways, otherwise, I guess just to give one final thought on like the anime, as in the animation as a whole. The animation art style I thought was executed very well. CG
Yeah.
was probably as best it was going to be for this type of production, but definitely by far not the worst CG I've seen. Cough cough XR cough cough.
Cough, cough,
But
cough, cough.
Fireworks wasn't bad. It was just
The
out of
bikes.
place.
The bikes.
It's only because they were pretty noticeable. But even then, all CG in most animated films are pretty noticeable because there's only like not a lot of studios have the best with blending the two things. There's only a few studios I could name off the top of my head that's gotten like 3D CGI blending down to a point where it's not as noticeable, but I mean it's still pretty noticeable. Um, but yeah, Shaft is definitely not one of those studios that has 3D blending capabilities. Um, at least not yet. Um, but otherwise, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, it's not the worst thing I've seen all year.
Oh, it could be Kramer.
Don't get me started on Kramer.
Wait, have you caught up?
No, but we still have to watch it.
We're binging the whole series in one go.
We are.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be something.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't I don't like the 10-point scale because when I think about the 10-point scale, if I said like a 6 out of 10, that's a D. I don't feel like that's fair.
Yeah, no, that's why I don't like really give points either.
Yeah, but like it's not like I don't know. Like I
Yeah, I don't know. It's like hard to exactly give a scale, but that's why I just say just give your opinions. You don't need to scale it.
yeah, like if you've seen if you've played the game, not a if you've played the game, you can watch the show. Don't expect the game. Just enjoy it for what it is, and don't give yourself a hernia like I did. Um, if you have the choice to play the game, find the DS version. If you can't find the DS version, get the iPhone or Android version. It's $20 and it's the
And
whole
if you
game,
just
but
want to
it's
be a
the new version.
cheapskate, just watch the anime. I mean, it's a good way to catch up considering
Yeah.
that the sequel is coming out. So, I mean,
The
and that's where
sequel is
most
out right now.
people, whatever, same difference. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, it's just a good way to catch up on the plot before it because it's clearly going to be relevant for Neo,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't seem like it at first. But
So I've seen one explanation that kind of helped me with it said, I forget who this was, so sorry. But they were explaining that the Warden's View already works on this parallel world idea. There's parallel worlds, and the Shibuya at the end is the optimal world. And he said the DS version is one world. The iPhone version is one world. The Switch version is one world. The anime version is one world. Slightly different, each in their own way, but their own parallel world, and all of them will, once the Shibuya is made into the optimal version, lead into Neo. Or lead into New Day, which lead into Neo.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I've heard that. So, that was not like the directors or anything. That was just like one guy. I forget who it was. I'm sorry.
But it's just a theory, basically.
A game theory. Thanks for watching.
Well, if you're saying thanks for watching, I guess we'll end it here then.
We have one more announcement. We have like a week or two ago played through the Neo, the World Ends With You demo, and that will be posted alongside this video on our all new channel, Otaku Oasis Live. It's like 3 hours. You'll get to watch us play it and give our first impressions on the game. The biggest thing we've done yet. So if there's any like problems with it, there probably is. But
it was our first attempt. We tried our best.
Yeah, I don't have proper recording equipment. That's the main.
We're working on it.
Yeah, I should have proper recording equipment. If I ever get the proper recording equipment and figure out how to live stream, we hopefully will play through the game live there on YouTube. If not, you'll just get pre-recorded versions of us playing through the game.
As close as live as it can be.
Yeah. Just a 2-week delay. It's fine.
Yeah. In fact, we'll make the videos premieres so that you can enjoy it live, technically.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing. That's the thing that we're doing. So go check that out. Otaku Oasis Live.
Yep.
The link will actually the code will be at the end of this video.
Yes. Please check it out. We spent a lot of time on that. And you can hear us try our best to try and imitate characters.
And try not to hit the O2 button all the time.
You kept on hitting it.
I didn't mean to.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
All right. That'll be all. I'm a tired boy. Good night.
Later. Good night.